Mariam. Good morning.
Good morning. That's my upline.
That's my future owner.
Alright, y'all. So who is currently or maybe has been at all ever confused about the growth structure or the pay throughout the growth structure?
How do we get
I've
paid?
been confused before.
It can be kind of confusing. It's a completely different structure than the majority of any other businesses that I've ever seen before. So I think it's a little bit understandable for people to be a little lost in it sometimes. So they actually came up with this really cool meeting called the earnings circle, okay?
I don't think I've seen this one.
I'm taking notes.
Alright, guys. So everyone's gonna start off by drawing a little circle in the middle of their page.
She said, yo.
Alright, y'all. So when we start the program, where does everyone start at?
Entry
Entry
level.
level. Everyone, all the managers, everyone starts at entry level. So entry level, what responsibilities do we have at entry level, guys? Not a lot, right?
Learning systems.
Learning systems, learning how to manage yourself, quality days, learning how the marketing systems work to get those quality days, and then how to actually do the marketing. So you're mostly just learning about stuff about yourself, right?
Personal development.
Personal development. How much do you feel like you should be paid to just manage yourself?
No, not as much.
Minimum. Minimum, right?
Minimum wage.
$2.50 and a high
You should
five.
already know how to do that, to be honest, but.
Yeah, so you first you come in with like some basis, but everything that we're building is we're learning how to actually manage yourself, how to learn actually the market system, how to apply the market systems. So if like the actual workload is minimum, the pay is kind of like the minimum through the program, right?
Yeah.
So the average for entry level is anywhere from like $400 to $900, depending on where you guys are at.
It's weekly, right?
Weekly.
Yearly.
So,
Before taxes. $17.
so this part right here is supposed to be inside of the circle, guys, but I did it all.
Oh, okay.
Inside the circle.
bigger circle around.
You just fix that. Right, y'all gonna see why I can't do it, because then you're supposed to write another circle. What's that entry level?
Level one.
Level one.
Level one. What else? So leadership, right? So leadership in total. So can we count that as like the account manager's process? So
Yeah.
account manager covers level 1, level 2, mastermind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the tasks that we're doing at those levels?
Interviews,
Building a team, having
training.
teaching the sales.
Alright, so we got, or the back end, we got team building,
The interview process.
interviews. Yeah, so pretty much the bulk of the actual program is account manager. What are some things that we also learn while we're doing in order to build our team, we have to learn how to do what? Buildings, interviews, listen to the words, not to the picture.
You're still learning how to manage yourself in a kind of more refined way, because you have a lot more on your
Yeah, so essentially you're learning how to manage the responsibilities that you're having now. So you're learning how to manage your team, you're learning how to have the conversations with your team, you're learning how to network so you can get better for your team. So stuff like that. So it's a little bit more work, right? So that's why, of course, it pays a little bit more. So an average, 4 entry levels, anywhere from 700.
for accounting.
Account manager.
How to prioritize. What's the next circle?
Level 2.
Assistant manager. Assistant manager. Is anybody having a hard time like understanding the concept without me being able to write it clearly? Because I see a lot of people squinting at me.
Maybe
Just blonde.
we're just blind. It's just so tiny.
Would it be helpful if I made it like actually what you're supposed to look like on your books?
Yes.
Okay. Is this still not working? Is that what the whispering is?
No,
Just address the elephant, Mariam.
So what you guys want to fill in this actual circle are the tasks and duties that you're doing in the account manager position. So that'll be interviewing, team building, how to have combos, networking, and how to prioritize. Of course, the pay compensation matches the task requirement. So, for the AM. Well, firstly, before we go here, so this right here is a very base average for account manager. Can anybody here in the program think of just one person who's doing above average and receiving above average paychecks?
Lily.
Willie. So it's not a cap. It's completely based off of my cross-line Hassan is also an example. Sharon is also an example. We have many people here who will just take the extra step, take the extra initiative, and their paychecks reflect that. This is the base average. So take it from there. What's the next level after account manager? Assistant manager.
Beautiful circle.
Thank you, Sedona. So guys, an assistant manager, does anybody know the task requirements for this position?
Yes.
A lot.
Give me one.
Back end.
Yes, learn more of the back end.
Orientation.
Onboarding, orientations, got it.
Learning
Would
more.
that be like first and second rounds?
First round.
Onboarding it?
Yeah, more like onboarding, so like first and second round can start happening during your account manager position. And then once you're into AM is when you're doing more of like the actual onboarding process, conducting the orientations.
Learning how to pay zone.
Learning process, now. Learning how to come and liaison with the client.
That's the client relations.
Return on investments.
HR.
Get the HR, PR.
Onboarding.
Yep, onboarding, orientation onboarding.
You're like running
That's
team
what I gave
meetings
you.
and stuff.
Doing what you're doing right now.
Like for do a little bit more of like everything that we're doing here, but kind of on a larger scale, right? So AMs are also responsible for learning the HR PR of the business, the profit and loss reports, helping with payroll, conducting orientations and onboarding, as well as learning the skill set of client relationships. They're also not only managing themselves in smaller teams, now their team has expanded and there's anywhere from 10 to 15 people on their team. So it's essentially running a miniature office. Is that a good example to use? So the pay should kind of reflect that as well, right? So the average salary for an AM is $1,000 weekly. What's after AM?
Executive branch management.
Executive manager. That's where we're all trying to get to. Yeah, so executive manager. What are executive duties, guys?
Pay the
Front and the back.
The front and the back.
The front and the back of the
chest. Managers do it all. So they're doing every single thing that you're learning from entry levels up to your assistant manager. All those tasks are now for the same duties for one executive. So they're managing the entire office.
Mentoring.
Sorry?
That goes on to like mentoring.
Yep. So that goes into mentoring, coaching. They're also having those one-on-ones to give the mentorship and coaching. And they're keeping that growth cycle going. So they're the direct liaison between the client and the consumer. And they're also the direct mentor for everyone that's going through all these different levels. So of course, their pay reciprocates that as well. Do you guys remember the base pay, the base starting pay of Somebody on the executive team?
100K.
Yearly.
$100,000
Weekly.
Weekly.
It depends on who you are. Some people are doing it like that. Does anybody know where this money comes from?
Verizon?
From the client essentially, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys know how it's like broken down?
Nope.
Anybody have like an idea of that?
Over.
It's a salary, it's not like an hourly thing.
Sorry?
I said, isn't it, literally, coordinating is hard. Isn't it just salary, it's not like an hourly thing?
Yeah, it's salary. It's not an hourly thing. Like anytime in the program, it's not nothing's hourly. So guys, how much does Verizon pay us per sale?
210.
So with the new structure, does anybody know what's been changed to?
No.
I think it's 185.
180.
Mm.
So we're getting paid from Verizon 180 per sale. Oops. And then of course, depending on where you're at in the program, you get paid out differently. So we have entry levels. All right. We have entry levels at 70. At 70. We have level 1, level 2, level 2, level 1s at 85. And level 2 and above is 100. Pretty good money. So can we say the average is $80 for all these?
Yeah.
So if the average is $80, on this lowest sales made, 80 goes to the rep and 100 goes to the owner. Pretty basic math, understandable? So if an office were to do 120 sales times a 60% installation rate, I did English, not math, guys. English and American. Do you guys know what that is? Who's in the math room?
72.
72.
Close enough.
I'm pretty
Yep.
sure it's
72.
close.
So if we're getting paid 180 on all 72 of our sales, how much is the office bringing in?
12,960.
Say that again?
12,960.
12,960. So is this all profit, like just straight to the owner bank account? No. What has to come out of there?
Expenses.
Expenses. So like that's office bills,
Rent,
paper
electricity.
stuff, electricity,
Papers.
Wi-Fi, stuff that makes everything connect and go. So we're gonna go ahead and
Plug and
keep those
play.
out. We'll go ahead and do an average. We'll say 4,000 for that. What does that leave us?
8,960.
Danny, the math person, is gonna step in. He does the math for everything. He's
You
aware.
just did one thing, you're good.
We're done this.
And instead of 180, that's full payout. So you wanna include the rep payout, so you just wanna do 100.
So it's not, so that way it's not taken out from it.
Yeah, now you're taking out the payroll already,
Ah,
before expenses.
makes sense. Danny fixed it. So guys, read do math.
New math.
72, that's 100.
7,200.
7,200.
So it's 3,200 at the end.
So 32 times 52 is what?
166,400.
Do you guys understand where the 52 came from?
Yes.
Yep.
What weeks in a year? 52 weeks in a year. And I'm sorry, what was the math of that?
166,400.
166 days. You guys understand why I said why 100K is the average?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because you know some companies, some offices are going to do more than 120 sales. Some offices are going to do less.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do 120 in the medium, the average it will be 166K. Makes sense. Does that make sense of why someone who has to do every single level of this role, that's their salary?
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? You're gonna put in extra work, you should be getting paid for that extra work. So guys, my challenge for you all is to see where we're at inside of this diagram and see what we need to do to get to the next level. We don't want to be doing these little averages. We want to get this big average. So we want to use our resources that we have that we're given throughout the program, network out, talk to people who are in the levels above you. So for an entry level, our immediate source of networking shouldn't be the executive manager. It should be somebody 1 or 2 levels above you. So that way their experience is fresh in their mind and they can help you overcome whatever obstacles you're on. All right? So let's go ahead and make sure we're using all of our resources today, even when we're out in the field. You see somebody else that's producing a little bit better than you are, faster than you are, maybe same territory or different territories. Call them on the phone, find out what's working for them. The best part about this program is the fact that we are never alone. Everything that we're going through, someone else has already done it or is doing it currently, okay? So let's make sure we're using our resources. And let's break on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Break! Now, before we go on break, sorry. Does anybody have any questions? I know we went through that a little fast. Do you have a question, Josh?
Yeah, so I was gonna say that 4,000, would that be weekly or monthly then?
4,000. Okay, so let me break this down for you, okay? So these 120 sales, that's an average office doing that how often?
Week.
Weekly.
Every week. So you multiply that by 60%, you get the 100 sales every week. So that 4,000 is every week on average. Makes sense? That's why we multiplied this by 52 weeks, because there's 52 weeks in the year.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that 4,000 is gonna be like weekly or like monthly, just like all the expenses like a month. So I know you don't pay like rent like every week, you pay every month. Are you
Yeah.
every week?
No. So the way I have it, what's really cool, just a little bit of side note, is you get an accountant every time that you, when you get promoted. She handles all the booking. So what she does, that way your financials stay consistent and your expenses stay consistent, is even though we pay rent every month. So let's say your rent is 4,000. Every week on your financial report, they'll track it as $1,000. That way, it's not, you're not getting a big cut at the beginning of each week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they just keep, shout out to Laura Porter. It's awesome. Cool? That make sense? That's a great question too. Because for me, I'm like, okay, so if we get charged every 2 weeks, how does that break down on financial report? She's like, yeah, just split it in half. That make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Do we have one back there?
No, you explained that.
Amazing.
What was it? Just ask it so I can make sure I answer.
100 sales. I was trying to figure out like.
Was it every week or every month?
No, I just was. Yeah, if it was every week.
Yeah, that's every week. Now, is there higher offices?
Yeah.
Yes. Is there lower offices?
Yeah.
Yes. So when you say 100K salary, guys, okay, that's the average that you're trying to get to. Okay, the only really maybe not true thing is you can make a lot more, but it all depends on who. You. Okay, if you want to run a 5-person office, cool. If you want to run a 50-person office, that's fine by them. Okay, that's fine by the client. So when you say this is paid out to the client, I want to be super transparent. It's not. It's paid out to the client, hands down. But it's paid out to the client, but it's tied to your
Work ethic.
Work ethic. Just like that's why entry level is so important, because when you work on commission, everyone's like, you shouldn't work on commission. How many of us have heard that before? Hands down. And the people is that is because they're scared to work hard. So when you decide your work ethic and they get paid 0, now the only problem is them. Does that make sense? But here, I promise you, the highest rollers, the ones that we're about to shout out later on, they're not getting mad that it's commission. They would be more upset if it was base. Does that make sense? And everyone had to do just as much hard work. Okay, so what entry level really preps you to is, hey, the bigger the office, the bigger the payout. Okay, yes, there's some cons of like more people, more problems, hands down. Okay, but you get the chance at least to tie your income to your work ethic, which most jobs don't do because they put you on a salary.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'd be very upset if I was an owner doing more than some offices and getting paid a salary. Does that make sense? Okay, so you should too. You should get upset that if Sharon was to get the same pay as someone as entry level, I would be upset if I was Sharon because I'm doing more work, right? Which is what society tells us is usually true. So that's why this payout is like this now. Okay, and the reason why this dropped down from 210 to 180 is because we got feedback from y'all saying that, hey, we want to sell better products to the client that's tailored to them. Does that make sense? So how many of us used to just pressure Home Plus and we would never talk about home? Hands down, I was there too because that's what the client, that's what I wanted at the time. That's what I thought would be best, getting the best product no matter what. And now they heard our feedback saying, hey, I think if we got the most sticky customers, right, the people that are actually staying are the home customers. So now what the client did, which is so grateful for them, is they made home payout and Home Plus payout nearly the same. So where some people are saying, well, isn't that a pay cut? It's not really, because this is also at home now, where home used to be 150. So they actually gave you a pay raise. Okay, and we've seen actually reps per reps per average every single day go up since we made this change. Does that make sense? And later on, now that you, let's say you receive that in account manager, now when you're an executive branch manager, now you feel the exact payout, you feel the exact repercussions of it, the advantages of it, because you get it per person. Does that make sense? Cool. Any other questions over any of that? I know we went through that a little fast. Did this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll give it up for Mariam one more time.
Yeah.